a place we've never seen him before. Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out! Oh my God! KO in midair!
Alright, so today we're going to talk about workers and worker nodes and how to get your workers working, how to feed your workers to get them to keep working, and how to set up your worker empire. First of all, in this stage of it, you don't buy this house. I was a complete noob when I did this. I was thinking this was the right house, but it was not. So to set up your worker empire, first of all, you're going to need storage space, you're going to need CP, and you're going to need more CP. Remember my last video when I said CP was important? This is exactly why. If you want to make any profitable income off of using workers to fund your empire, then you're going to need CP. So go back to that video, listen to why I said CP was important, how to get it, blah, 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 blah. So to start this process, I'm going to show you Velia, because Velia is pretty much where you're going to spend most of your time anyway. It has like the most farms around it, I think, with the most potatoes and everything you need to make beer, at least at this point in the game. All right, so what you're looking for when it comes to a place for workers is a residence called a lodging. You have the residence, which is where your character goes, like where you put your stuff, which is mostly where you're going to put like your cooking utensils, your alchemy utensils. And then you have the lodging where the workers go to like pretty much live when you're not using them, which you're always going to be using them. So just in the off chance you forget to feed them their beer, a drunk worker is the best worker. So fortunately in Velia, there is an area right above the restaurant that has a residence and then 2 lodgings right next to it that cost about 1 CP a piece. Throughout this, your entire goal is to spend as little CP as possible. This is the point in the game where you want to be as cheap as possible. And as your worker empire grows, you'll understand why I say you want to be as cheap as possible, because you can use up 450 CP very quickly. So you want to be as optimal as possible, as well as efficient as possible. You're going to want to get the ones that have level 2 lodging and level 3 lodging, which the level 3 lodgings are always going to cost 2 CP. There's no way you can work around that. The level 2 ones, you might be able to find 1 or 2 that are like 1 CP a piece, but those are rare. I think in Velia there's 1, in Heidel there's probably like 1, in Calpheon there's probably 3 of them, and of course out in Valencia there's the best one that's like, I think there's a level 3 out of Valencia that's 2, where it's connected to other level 1s. I mean, two other level 2s that are all 1 CP a piece. But there's just not in Valencia you can actually go for because it's the desert. So you're gonna want to click on this little sub node and invest your contribution point into that spot, into whatever you want to make it into. Most likely you're gonna make it a residence because you want your spot where you're gonna put your cooking utensil, as I said, so you can make your beer, so you can keep your workers functioning. After you get your lodging and your worker set up, you're gonna go ahead and head over to the node that you want to connect to from the city. You're gonna have to connect the city to the node, and then connect that node to whatever functioning resource that you want to go ahead and get to. With the value pack that they're gonna have in the cash shop, more than likely, you can connect to nodes while you're not at them. But without the value pack, you're gonna have to actually go directly to that node and connect to that node by talking to the node manager, and then speaking to the node manager again to connect to the resource node. The prices of contribution may vary depending on the area that the resource is in, and depending how rare the resource is. Most potato, wheat, and corn nodes are 1 CP. At any point in time, if you make a mistake and pick a room to be something that you don't want it to be, or you decide you want to change the room to something else, you can actually go ahead and change that. I think it only costs a bit of silver. It doesn't cost any more contribution point besides what you already have put into it, and whatever is the excess contribution points that are needed for that room. Like I said, because we lack that value pack, we're going to go ahead and manually run over to that node and manually collect that node to Velia, so we can have that pathway open so the worker can go from one spot to another. I think this is the part where a lot of people don't understand. You need to actually connect the node to the city so that the worker will know what path he's traveling to get to where he's going to and coming back from. So after you've connected that node, if you've already set up your worker in the lodging, you can actually set up your work to start from this point. You don't have to run all the way back to the city, but because I didn't do it at that point, I didn't get my workers set up and put in their lodgings, then I have to run back to Velia and do it like the manual old way. So in the last video I talked about how energy was going to be important. This is the point where energy is going to become very crucial when it comes to getting these workers, because you can actually roll for workers using the RNG system to reshuffle a worker back into, say, like a deck of cards, and you can choose another worker. You're going to go ahead and go to this NPC called Santo Manzi, and he is the worker supervisor, and for 5 energy a piece he lets you re-roll a worker. So you're going to go and you're going to hire a worker, and you're going to look at the worker. If you don't want like what the worker is or like what the worker has as stats, you can actually go ahead and refresh. And I'm going to refresh for a human, because I prefer the fact that humans, they actually have a moderate speed in between the 3 races of workers. There are 3 races of workers that I should probably mention before I go ahead and say that. So the 3 races of workers right now are human, goblin, and giant. The choice of worker that you pick actually influences a lot. So you're the type of person that you can be at your console all day and you have no restraints on what you can do, you're going to want to pick goblin workers because they can work the fastest. They run out of stamina a lot faster than the other races, so you're going to have to constantly be refilling their energy meter and resetting their work tasks because they're going to finish that stuff and blow through it very quickly. And if you're a person that can be at your console all day, then more power to you. The goblin workers also bring in the least amount of whatever you're going to get. So if you're bringing in, say, I'm doing mushrooms right now. If you're bringing in mushrooms, they're going to bring in the least amount of mushrooms from the 3 races. So the giant workers are in complete contrast to the goblin workers. They're the slowest, they carry the most, and they take the longest to run out of stamina. These were specifically the workers I used when I worked like 16 hours a day in construction. And by the time I get home, they'd still have like a few minutes left on their task, and then I'd be able to reset them, set them up to go again for another, however long I need them to go for. And of course, the last race, the humans, they're going to be the medium workers. I think this is the one where you can actually go to work for like 8 hours a day, come back, and actually just have them constantly working until you make it back to the house. And then of course you have your worker skills. These skills are all RNG. You're going to get one random skill regardless, and then you're going to be able to change that skill once your worker hits 50% of level 30 and then 100% of level 30. So you get 2 chances to actually change the skill. But then that percent re-rolls, and you're gonna have to go ahead and get that worker back up there and then reset it over and over again. You can promote workers to a promotion style aspect of the game when they reach a certain level, and you can get them to go from, say, magic rank to rare rank to artisan rank. Of course, that's all RNG as well, and you can actually roll for an artisan worker with the supervisor, but that is a very low chance. I would not suggest doing that unless you have a ton of energy and you don't have anything else with the energy for the day, because rolling for artisan workers is a very frustrating prospect. Your workers also have stats, by the way. They have the work speed, their movement speed, their luck, and their stamina. Their luck actually determines how much they proc. There also are luck skills to where they increase their luck on certain things, like increased proccing of a jewelry. And of course, these stats change with the rarity of the worker. So that's pretty much it for this video. This one ran a little bit long, but I think it was necessary for the explanation. Anyway, hit me in the comments or DM me or message me on Discord if you need more explanation when it comes to this worker system. And peace.